Catrara, something like that. Patrick Catrara. He was a writer. Kathara. That's what I have. That may not be how they spell it, but you could put Kenya in there, and yes, 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 yes. What does it say about him? Can you read off, and you could turn that on? Can you read a couple of his articles that he have on Instagram? That's him from Nairobi, Kenya. He talks about America, how it looks. He talks about America. He says he'll use language that they use about them. The tribal instability in the United States is causing destabilization in the American ex-colonial da 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 da. He uses language like that, and it's just to have you. It's just really serious. NPR is where I heard it. Oh, okay. But I just like what he had on his Instagram. It's just something we could go through. You have his name. Let me see if I can. Uh, no, that's what I just wanted to we could discuss a couple of his articles a little later. It's just the way he satirizes. He deal a lot in satire on how, and he have you rolling in the street about how he describes the United States. He describes the United States the way they describe there's tribal instability in Kenya, and it's causing an erosion of da da da. So when he talk about the United States, he uses that type of language, and it's true though. But what he's saying is true, and it sounds that the white lady was saying, and you mean that's the way America, and that's the way America looks. And then they agree. They said, well, it does look like that. You know, the different groups, the tribal groups, the Asians, the Indians, you know what I mean, the African Americans, the tribal instability amongst the white tribe, you know. And he describes them as a tribe, but then he breaks them down into their little, the Irish, the white folks, and this. It's really just, I couldn't. I was just sitting. I laid there laughing, just listening to NPR the other day. This, I didn't have time to write anything down, but that's what I heard on NPR, and it was interesting. Sometime it'll be, since you have it, it'll be interested to go over. Is the machine on? It's already on. Oh, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Well, to get started, we've been talking about America. We've been talking about the Zionist control of America, and we want to explain a little bit how it's working. If we've been looking at the unraveling of the American system, the unraveling of the American system would be caused by the Zionist. Mossad is probably, I would say, the most effective intelligence agency in the world. Even if you read old books on Mossad, Mossad have, say in Canada, it might have a group of doctors that one of their agents could go through and get treated. Where if you get a gun wound and shot like that, but Mossad is not like that. Mossad got Jewish doctors and all other kind of officials that if anything happened, they can go to their office, they can go to their home, they can go in there, and they can get excellent treatment. The Zionists, and that's from old books on Mossad. You might have saw the old book we had on Mossad. That's like 30 years ago almost, 25 years ago. I think when we first got that book, but it was by a Jew that was writing about Mossad. So Mossad, what Mossad has is, they're against the Torah. First, you can see, 130 years of religious Jewish opposition to Zionism. These are rabbis from way back opposed to Zionism when it first came out. I mean, the day it came out, that was 1887, they was against it then because Zionism had nothing to do with Judaism. I want you to think about it. Our friends, you remember at the Palestinian demonstration, Rabbi Davud Weiss, who's one of the main spokesmen right now. He's one of the main spokesmen, but he's not one of the main, he is the main spokesman, and he's up in the echelon. There's a few people over him. They might have passed away by now. And so he might be, that might be his, this brother here might be his rabbi, you know, right in this corner. But the point is that we're not against Judaism. You have to remember, what do the real Torah practicing Jews believe? That the Zionists have hijacked Judaism. They've hijacked. That's what the words and they use words that we would never use. They talk about them swine eaters. Boy, I mean, they talk about them like I don't know what. By the way, they do have white steak on the menu. The Zionists have in Jerusalem. White steak. You know what white steak is? It's pork. Yeah, white steak. They don't call it pork because who's one that eats pork? A Jew. But in case you're a drifting Jew, you know, a little white steak will do. And with all that sauce they put on it, they probably know what to do with it. The new white meat. The new white meat. Good God Almighty. Well, the Jews been calling it white steak, and so the point is that if Zionists can hijack Judaism, what problem would it have hijacking America? There's no problem at all, right? If when they held the Jewish captives in Nairobi, the Zionists flew right over and snatched them up and went home back in the 70s. You know why? The Israelis built the doggone airport. Well, they knew the whole setup. Everywhere, the Israelis are everywhere in Africa, especially where they have Lebanese and others, like other foreigners, you know, that are managing a lot of business and what have you. A lot of store owners and shop owners are all, a lot of them are Lebanese. On the East Coast, every store and shop is owned by Asians. In Kenya, a lot of them, they call them dukawalas. In Tanzania, where I live, 95% of all shops was owned by Asians. They came over to build the railroads in the 1880s and 90s from India. They stayed, and they took over the country. That's why Idi Amin put all the Asians out in 1972, something like that. He put them out. And they came here, they came to all, many other countries, especially going to the UK. We used to do programs with one of the brothers. And his daughter, they used to have, in Canada, they had the Malcolm X shirt. They were really big followers of Malcolm X and Alu Bait, of course. And I used to stay with him. And I would talk to him. He said, if I would have known better, I would have stayed. You know, in other words, from then he was glad to get out. But after he became politically aware, he was Asian, you know, from India. His daughter, this is years ago, they used to be the students, they was down with Malcolm. They used to invite me up to speak all the time. And the point is that one example is when I was in South Africa. This is probably 96. I'm having meetings with, this one Dr. Siddiqui said certain things. Now I'm dealing with the Africans. Okay, when I'm saying the Africans, I'm dealing with, first of all, as different people have accepted Islam. One of the imams was from Uganda. They have the other brothers from South Africa themselves. And then they have other Africans that have immigrated from other places, Malawi and others. So I'm talking, they thought maybe I was kind of skilled with unity. So I'm presenting proposals about Wahda. In every proposal I put forward, they got an excuse of how that ain't gonna work and we don't want to do that. So finally, I turned to the Ugandan imam. The imam from Uganda, he married a South African sister, and they had a beauty shop, and he was an imam, like, amongst them. And like here, they have Bangladeshi, Masjid, Pakistani. It don't say that on the outside, but when you go in, you know way you can tell if Afghans dominate, Arab dominate, Pakistani dominated. You know, they got, that's the way the masajid are here. They're nice places to go, but you get a feel of who's kind of in charge, you know, okay. So I asked the Tanzanian, the Ugandan imam, because they was talking about the Indians there. I said, how are the Indians here compared to the Indians in East Africa? He said, they're wonderful. See, the Africans, the Indians in South Africa, they build whole masajid and schools for them, you know, for the Africans. Now, since the African haven't put nothing in it himself, there's one big, beautiful masjid in Mamelodia. In fact, there's a plaque outside. It was in Crescent. It said, this masjid is dedicated to Imam Abdul Alim Musa of Washington, D.C., and Zafar Bangash in Toronto, Canada. And I mean, let's say it's, nowadays it would be $1 million masjid, easy. I mean, all the modern and it built up, big courtyard. And so the brothers was complaining, those Indians treat us like we're kind of like kids. I said, well, said this is a nice setup for school here. And nice, the courtyard is full of lambs and other, you know, I mean, like grazing or whatever, you know, like, so I was just telling them, you know, the masjid is for certain things, you know, and you could even use it. I said, it's a nice place to come and do itikaf, but to bring all the families, and that's where they stay. You know, that's, you know, and I know how it is. I can see the shanties all around. I mean, but you, and I would talk to the brothers. I said, brothers, y'all get you a box. I would go to a lot of the little mosques that they have. I said, man, all y'all got to do is get a box and go to all these masajid around. And man, y'all have way more money than, so they always had something new. You guys are different than us. And I would say, yeah, one thing about it, ain't nobody gonna come in our neighborhood and build no masjid for us, that's for sure. Not no $1 million masjid like the masjid in Soweto and all that. I don't know what's happening now, but 20 years ago, that masjid would have cost $1 million then. I mean, here. So it was a masjid, you know. And you go places and outside of Durban and what have you, they have, they build them masajid almost like they build for themselves, you know. And it goes back to the thing of whether if you put something in it, you care about it more than if somebody just popped it up. Anyway, it was a long story about the immigrant community and the African community. And just to get back on track, over there, it was the Indian community in South Africa. In East Africa, it was still the Indian community, but they was different. You can't, I mean, see, we were different. African Americans, we could get along with all the Indians and everybody because they considered us different. And we were different. We got sense now. We ain't coming with that old. Another thing is money. See, we could change any kind of money. I don't want to stray off the subject, but I'll give you a chance to understand. In 1972, they closed down the borders, and they do it from time to time. They close down the borders, and then they say, okay, you got so much time to change your 100 shilling notes for 100 shilling notes. We got a new note coming out, and you can only change so much at a time. So the Indian got all this money stacked up. In the Indian, there's a difference in the money. For instance, if you go to East Africa, if you would go to the bank, and I'm talking about then, if you would go to the bank, you would get 7 shillings per dollar. So if I gave the bank $100, they would give me 700 shillings back. But out in the street, you could get, I traded for 14. I would give people 14, but I could get 21 from the Indian. You see what I mean? So I would get 2,000, I would get 3 times the value for a US dollar of a shilling. The shilling was always being destabilized. So they would always change their money into stable currency. So they would be stacking up money. They would send it up to Kenya, other places, to where it could be changed in the market like. So they closed down the border. That means ain't nobody coming in, ain't nobody going out. All your money is just in Nairobi, it's frozen. You can't bring it back. Okay. The other is the 100 shilling note. It's the biggest note they had. It's maybe like $25, something like that. That's a lot of money. So the only people that could change money of any value was us, African Americans. So the brother, I came back in 73, and the brother told me, he said, man, was it 73 or 78? He said, man, they was bowing down. Please take, you know what I mean? You know the way the Negro talk. He said, man, the Indians was bowing down. Because, see, we could take money and change it, change their notes. They couldn't change for 5,000 at a time. Once they didn't change their account, they didn't change 5,000, that's it. But we could change 100,000. Boy, look at here. The Negro got rich during that period over there. Because all he'd give them was 7, 8 shillings per dollar. And, you know, they was giving them to them for 21. So they could change it back. Anyway, this is the way it was in a lot of countries. So the African American was different. Remember I was telling you about a friend lived up in Arusha? There's a mountain there called Mount Meru. It's right there in Arusha. It's 14,000 feet up. It's different than Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam is burning up. It's hot, it's sweaty. But up there, it's cool and fresh, you know what I mean? And now I said, oh man, I like this weather. You know, because, you know, being from around the bay in California, not out in the desert, we used to 70 degrees, 75 in the summer, 65 in the winter, you know what I mean? The 60, and at night, sometime even it would get 32 degrees at night, and then it would be 50, cold day would be 50, you know. So yeah, this is like home here. So I was going to buy a farm there, and this guy, he was the Aga Khani, an Ismaili. But all the Indians there got along together fine. I don't care whether you're Aga Khani, Sunni, they all lived in Oyster Bay. They all lived together, you know. So we was talking to him about the price, and then we was talking about the how to pay people. I said, so Jessa, that's the guy's name. I said, what about how much should they get paid? 7 shillings a day, you know, like $1. No, pay them by the job. So why is that? Because if you paid them a regular salary, they wouldn't do that much work, you know, because who would? He said, you got to pay them by the job. That job, 5 shillings. This job, you finish that job, 9 shillings. In other words, he said, he was serious. He said, no, you pay them by the job. I said, good God Almighty. I said, boy, I mean, see, we got the chance to get a taste of colonialism. I mean, we was bathed in it. It wasn't like reading a book on colonialism. We were involved in both sides because we're African American. And everybody's dealing freely with us, you know. So we know colonialism better than the African. No, because he's a victim. And we're coming in on a different level. So we see all them beautiful Makande carvings. You see those carvings, those African carvings, used to be real popular. People's pole or beautiful cane. They had whole tribes. I'll get back on the subject. They had whole tribes that's all they did was carved that stuff. And the people bought, over here you could get rich with that stuff, especially in those days. But there, they just sit there and they carved it. People poles, how people hold together on this big tall pole. No, and canes, all of those carving, giraffes, all that stuff that they would have. And I could have sent my friends tons of that, and they'd have got rich here. It's too much, there's too many opportunities to get rich. If you look around and you got this and you got that. I want to stray from the subject for a minute. That's one of the ways that the Jews, not only now, but from Roman times, got big. They expelled them all over the world. When they expelled them, Jews here, Jews there. Remember in those days, trade. When we were in Spain, they kicked the Muslims out of Spain. They went to Morocco. Some went back to Jerusalem. So you would find Jews all over the place, right? And guess what? They got a cousin somewhere else. What you guys got over there? Well, we got all this that's everywhere. Is that right? Ain't nobody got none of that. They pay $100 a smell for that, right? That was the worst mistake to contain Jews when they spread them all over the world. It's like Chinese.
And they make it seem like that was an oppressive situation.
Yeah, they do.
That's what they say. That's what they say, but boy, look, do you find any of them poor and hungry anywhere?
You know what? They had this rabbi from that must have just passed, a real important.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah.
I didn't know that the celebration of the tabernacle is that they're supposed to go out and live like they build some type of shelter.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. You know, I know I've never seen that because I grew up around it.
Right.
And I've never seen any Jews go out into the woods or in their backyard or what have you.
Right.
Build some type of shelter where they stay out there for like 7 days.
Right.
To experience, you know, what it was like to be wandering
No, a lot of stuff you won't see here. I mean, because see, for instance, they got Reformed Jews. They got this kind of Jew, and that. So they're Reformed. That means that that a lot of stuff that applied that don't apply to them. But the other thing that I was saying about the root of what I started from was about Jews and Zionism, and why are Zionists so effective around the world? Because because they have the Torah, and the Torah have guidance in it about how to lead and guide the human being and what things the human being have to watch, right? Which is the devil, of course. What the shaitan uses against them, that's what Mossad, that's why Mossad is so effective. Mossad uses the holy book to mislead people, not to guide people. That's why he's effective. On brainwashing, on bribery, he knows all the weaknesses of every politician in the world. Every politician in the world. This one like girls, this one like boys, this one like everything else. And okay, so he bribe them. He threaten them. Because he knows he has the guidance on, right? And he uses it 100% to misguide the people. And the handful of religious Jews, Orthodox, traditional Jews, who are our friends in America and all over the world, those Jews in Jerusalem, the old Orthodox Jews, they're on our side. Because we helped them. I heard a lecture by Abba Eban in 1982 or 3. He said, when we were kicked out of when we was kicked out of Spain, we went to Morocco and we went to another place we called Paradise. It was Jerusalem. The Muslims were there, the Uthmaniyya. So the Orthodox Jews, you notice the way they are with their Palestinian demonstrations? They speak out against Zionism. Okay, now we'll get to what we wanted to talk about today. Yes, go ahead.
But one thing this guy did say, when it came to certain issues that they could agree upon, they all came together. So can you comment, like, because he talked about the differences within, the different Jewish groups. And I made sure I heard.
Well, he was an Orthodox,
Rabbi?
yeah, he was an Orthodox rabbi. On the subject of, is a long subject that, well, you remember we talked about some friends before that are around the world and they might be there to meet and greet people. Okay. One of the biggest is one big person from Hausenheisen, from Germany or somewhere, Europe, big anti-something or other. And the other was a group of other people of the same persuasion. And we was in a country that they want to sign on to this global conspiracy type thing. And they were right, what they wanted us to sign on to. I was the only one that was willing and ready to sign on to it because it's clear, so they wouldn't. Just something to think about. But anyway, it's just something to think about. On the subject of Trump being dumped. Now, we said that the Zionists, their job was to get someone that was in debt, someone that was a megalomaniac, someone that would do their bidding. And so they studied the people around and they said, Don, He's never successful in business. He's always going broke. You know what I mean? And so they said, he's got a big name, no? We'll use him. Oh, he's got a nice daughter. We'll marry a Zionist 10-year-old to her. Right? And he goes all around the world. He's not even old enough to know anything, much less any training in that area. But he don't have to have it. All he has to do is follow what the Zionists tell him to do, what Mossad tell him to do. So what we're saying is, and we didn't say it last week, we said it the day he got in there. We used to use this terminology. Somebody hired Don to destroy the Republican Party, and all of to get control of it, to put them all in line. And he did. He got all the, and his first go round, he didn't spend hardly no money on publicity or nothing. He talking about, yeah, I spent, no, you ain't spent nothing, you ain't spent a dime. You captured the media or the media captured you, one of the two. It don't make no difference. We knew that ever since Don was in there, he's gonna dominate the media. You don't get a chance to hear nothing else but Don. Don destroyed the Bushes. They old time crackers, you know what I mean? He knocked over two of them right in a row. The old Jeb down there, the old Sleepy Jeb, whatever you call him. They hired him to do that, and that's what he did. And they played the game for him, and they built him and they let him roll. And therefore, when he came in, you either with Don or you're out. So everybody had to flip over to them. In doing that, they weakened the Republican Party. Let's say Don technically have already destroyed the Republican Party. Okay, we know that's happened. In the meantime, what about the Democratic Party? I'm gonna be moving a little fast. If you look back a little while ago, they had 4 ladies that won certain elections. And if you just looked at, you would like them all. I mean, they were all progressive. They were all, one come from Somalia, one Latina, you know, and one Palestinian, other, maybe 2 Palestinians. Anyway, those people. And we never mentioned that before, but now we have reason to mention them, not by name, but by association. The Democratic Party has just won the election. Don has been dumped by Netanyahu. I don't know if you follow it. Netanyahu to dump Don. The press to dump Don. That's why he was in his house. He's sad. Y'all dump me. And you're not, only people out there is white folks on Don's side. Everybody else saying, Don, well, you got to go. Netanyahu said he got to go. You may not believe it, even Saudi Arabia looked around and said, probably they won something other. So Don was, man, what? See, Don didn't think they was going to dump him. But the Zionist is there for him to use, and the Zionists, to make sure you stay in line, they don't make you crawl. They like gangsters, you know. You're going to crawl. I'm running this show. You're not going to have anything, no backbone left. You're not having nothing. That's why Don is looking stupid. You ever seen him lately? He looks stupid. He looks like somebody that sucked all the juice out of him. It's not the election. It's what the people, even dear son-in-law, What does he say? Well, stepdad, I think maybe you lost and it's time to go. And daughter dear, same thing. Only ones that's talking about fight, fight, fight is the two boys, right? Because they don't understand what's going on. But Kushner then told his daughter, well, you know, da-da-da-da. And Netanyahu or Mossad then told the boy, hey, tell him it's all over. So he feels cut off by, and Fox News, my goodness. And he's saying, Fox, y'all, we was homeboys. Every institution controlled by the Zionists. Every one of them, you got to look at it. Said, Don, it's all over. It's all over. What? Y'all was with me, man. What's going on? No, man. Every vote counts in Georgia, Arizona, Mexicans. Good God Almighty, Don, what do you want? Time to go. Every Israeli institution. Fox News at the top. Rupert Murdoch, what is his name? They run the show. They run the show. Why they? I'm trying to tell you, they flipped on him. That's why we're saying they're going to dump Don. They dumped him. Don is dumped. That's why he didn't know. That's why Don couldn't get up in the morning. He couldn't even brush his teeth for days. He was just dizzy. Because when you get dumped like that, hey, man, they said Don won't come out the house. He won't do nothing. So he went to play golf, and then you can see his face. He looks like what he is, stupid, right? You seen his face like that? Man looks stupid, and he feels stupid. He been dumped. He been dumped by the best dumper, the Zionists. They dump niggas, boy. They dump them in a hurry. In the meantime, we got to look at destabilization of America, making America big but weak, only to submit to them. But the Democrats didn't win enough to turn no whole lot over, right? And then the Democrats. We was always, remember, delay, just watch, take your time, ain't no hurry. We never mentioned those ladies before. Why we mention them now? Because at the time the Democratic Party needs more unity and stability, they run around hollering, no, you're not revolutionary enough yet. If they had any sense, they would say, okay, we're going to help unify this, and they'll have a want list. We're going to want this, we're going to want that. In 2 years, year after that, right? And we're going to be unified, because disunity destroys all their ability to function. Republicans are already shaky, right? Divide, conquer, and rule. So now the Zionists have totally destabilized America. They did it. And they had them people there, just like they had our friends. They had somebody already sent there waiting. You come by to see them, they already there waiting on you. Yeah, here I am. That was the way the Americans functioned in the past. And it worked for them. Now the Zionist is using history and everything else. America is in a historical conundrum, decline. And the Zionist is mixing all the historical stuff together to head them down the hill, right? To where they're big and powerful, but only to be controlled by them. By them. One thing that, if you've been listening to the press, all the international media is so distraught. They don't trust America anymore. Now you got to remember, when I was on the white man show, I said, don't worry about a thing. When this is all finished, nobody will love America, nobody will believe in America, and nobody will trust America. Remember that? That's what it said on the white man show. Whatever his name is. Hannity, and Hannity was an advisor to Don. Well, anyway, so in all of this, what are we looking at? We've always talked about America in a different way, and now we want to talk about a few historical things. What we showed everyone very clearly from the very beginning, right? From day one, we showed people from the very beginning about what Thomas Jefferson said and about what they left out of the Declaration of Independence. Right under that, I didn't bring it with me, but it was a Slave Fugitive Act, right? With all of that stuff, it's all there. The other thing is policing, like right up here is chapter 2, Origin and Development of Law Enforcement. Right here, page 43, 44. Not development of formal policing in England, but formal policing in the United States, right? Early watch system, 44, slave patrols and Jim Crow. That's the purpose of policing in America. It always has been, and it still is today. That's the purpose. It was never meant, you see the paper? Yeah, it was never meant. That's why years ago, rally against constitutional dictatorship. Remember these stuff? This is back in the 90s, 99. Constitutional, it's never fooled us at all. This is a rally against constitutional dictatorship. When we was down at the AMC, and Marty Bray was rad all back in the thing, and Kit Gade, one of them big constitutional white lawyers, was sitting there, said, and I mentioned that, I said, America is a constitutional dictatorship. What? I said, we're going to have a rally, but would y'all like to come? Shoot, the constitutional lawyers, it's a wonder they didn't get up and run out of there. Kit Gage was one of them. A constitutional dictatorship, in other words, they're supposed to be revolutionaries, and this is an affront to, what? America, a constitutional dictatorship? Well, there's some things as we go along. You see that we're not anti-Jewish, we're anti-Zionist. Organizational theory, design, and change. That organizational theory, design, and change means that the people have studied organizational or state design and change. Basically, you can design a state to fit the function you want it to, like an organization, right? You design that organization to fit the purpose you want it to fit. That means we can design a constitution and we can design a system that could fit right into where we want to be 20 years from now. We can design it now. They can design it. Everybody knows what to do. They just won't do it. Right? We would have to balance off wealth and all that other stuff. Right? We would have to, no, they could have a 95% tax thing. They used to have a 94 tax thing, right? During that period, that's when America was a middle class, sharing the wealth. they got to do the same thing now, just temporarily. 95% tax bracket. They can fix it so they can get most of their money back, so technically it would be a 50% tax bracket. But they got to balance the wealth. I was listening to a white man yesterday. He was saying everything right about America and what it is, but then he finished up by saying, now if you follow my program, I'm going to make 800 millionaires within a certain, I said, with all that stuff he was saying about wealth inequality and all that, he was right. And he come back with the same stuff, with not being aware of the environment we live in. The last thing we need is more millionaires, more imbalance. You know, he said that 0.1% had more money than, you know, the same story they say, than 90% of the people. So why would motiversity? They're not talking about new worldism. You need discipline to lift more weights, to get stronger, to run faster, and face the challenge. None of them ever face a challenge. Like, what about Boss Man? What about New World? You want to face the challenge? Jump out there on Boss Man. You don't hear nothing about that. Your discipline is to make you just stronger, faster, you know, and they talk all that stuff, but somehow they fail. That's because he ain't never fought the white man. See, it's different facing another group or another team or just out there, I'm going to get important and big. That's one thing. But if your name is on the white man's list at the top, that means the whole system is against you. You cannot even breathe. First of all, ain't but one or two people going to even get that far. There's so many traps along the way, you'll be fortunate to get to where you can jump on the white man. Yeah, you can jump on. That just don't exist. The guy is paying attention to everything. Remember yesterday when we was over there, I said, would you get me the chair so I could sit down? And you notice I never used that chair for that. You know why? Because by the time I got in there, the white man had flipped the switch, right? And I couldn't hardly walk, first walking in, but the white man wanted me to do that and didn't want me hurting. Like I walk in here one day, can't hardly walk. I mean, sometimes you wouldn't believe it. I'm not faking. I'm telling you. If I'm walking on a stick or can't hardly walk, that's the way I feel. I mean, I can't, if I move too fast, you know, one of them serious pains that go through your body, that's what happened. And if I sit down there to pray, it's because I ain't nowhere in the world I'm even thinking about moving. And I flow in here the next day, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim, right? That's boss man. Boss man letting you know, nigga, look, we run you. We run your body. We control the bile. We control the flow. You got to be a tough character to say, well, you can kiss my behind. If you want me to hurt, then turn the hurt button, because it don't make me no difference, right? Or if you turn the hurt button too long for a week or two, I'm going to figure out how to deal with that. And that's going to make me stronger. So the boss man can't leave it on no more than a day or two, because I'll adapt to it. I'll find a way, because that's what I'm doing right then. Remember I told y'all in the hills in Oakland, I was hurting so bad that I said, I'm coming back tomorrow. And so the same thing. If you keep doing it over, you're going to see, believe it or not, my personal development, and I'm not going to talk about personal development much anymore. I'm going to talk about collective development, because we're in the new strategic management related to Brother Tufel and related to this center right here. So I want everybody to visualize this area right around where we are. There is the nerve center of the new strategic management structure that we're building. We're not gonna build it, we're already doing it. Everything we're talking about, we're already doing it, because we're in that stage. When you get in that stage, you're in that stage. Okay, now, so we understand what we're up against. We're not up against boss man. We up against the Zionist. Okay, now, this is our proposal. We have said, now you got to remember, the Zionist is going to cripple. He's already doing it. The white man in America. He's already crippled him. Look what he's doing. Look at the chaos in America. It's chaos. Huh? We've been telling them, look, we have not been incorrect about nothing. The white man with the guns, the white people all up in the hills with teeth falling out. Hey, man, see, the Zionists don't care nothing about nobody. You know, the Zionists kill other Jews all over the world. So they would run to Israel, burn synagogues and everything to make the Jews run out of Iraq and go run to, this is what they said, in Yemen. And the racism amongst the Jews from Ethiopia, they won't even take their blood. Jews from Yemen and their Arabicness, 10th class citizens. Jews from Arab countries. They're technically Arabs. And now they having movements in the state of Israel, just like we had an African American movement. We not colored anymore. They having their own type of movement in Israel. So we ain't taking this no more, you know. And the songs, you can go through their music, they starting to sing Arabic, they bringing back, you know what I mean? Just like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we had a black renaissance in America. They having an Arab-Israeli renaissance. And they having renaissance wherever they from. The Ethiopians, all the people. Because they shoot them down, they beat them to death. Amen. They got us thinking that everything's lovey-dovey. And if you want to see somebody oppressed, this is him right here. Hey, man. They join the army. So we're not joining that army.
Right, yeah, I heard about that some time ago.
We're not doing it. It's illegal. It's wrong. It's not the Torah. We're not fighting like that. We're not doing that. So they got their own troubles. But if an enemy can keep you having more trouble than he has, he's going to do better because he's got things. That's what the white man is about here in America. Here's our proposal. We always talk about the FBI and people like that. Well, see, there's things like coalitions. That this guy is small and organized, and he knows everybody's business. Therefore, you got to start with a crew that have a high level of commitment. Now, there is in the FBI and other agencies people with certain levels of commitment. We're reaching out today to our old-time recognized future to be enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. It's so simple. It's the FBI. We want the dear FBI take all our case, consolidate it, put it together, and run it through the court system and give us our $100 million. Of course, it's negotiable. Like I told them before, it's negotiable. Yeah, we can negotiate. I mean, we just say 100 million. They say, no, that's too much for niggas. But it has to be up there. It has to be big. Okay, that's good for them, and it's good for us. Why is it good for them? It's because they have lost control of their country. They have. Does the FBI control anything? Don told them, go to hell, all of y'all. The CIA, this is what we do. They can't tell Don nothing because Don will tell the whole world. They said this, they said that. And Mr. Putin, no, I believe him. This is just them now. We know it's all a game. But they said, well, what do you say, Mr. President? Sir, I believe Putin. Putin said such and such. Hell, I believe him. Why not? I don't see nothing wrong with it. Right? And he's getting a briefing every day. I'm not telling you about what we think about it. I'm telling you what America thinks about it. I'm telling you about what them crackers and the Homeland Security and all them think. And every one of them, he fires any one of them when he get ready. And he strolls a big old tall one, comb me or whatever, grown me, right? And humiliates them, yes, Mr. President. And he get the hell out of here, right? So that goes down to the day-to-day FBI person. We say, you have lost control of your country. Now, you're Americans. All that tough talk now. Let me explain to you something about America. First of all, let's just wipe out all that city on the hill, S-H-I-T. Light on the hill. You've never been that. You ain't never even wanted, you never even, you know, I guess you don't know nothing about Sand Creek and all them other things where you slaughtered it. Forget about all of that. And niggas and Mexicans, and you have not lived up to one smidget. I'm talking about the first thing that police say is that the Jim Crow, doggone that we organized slave patrols and Jim Crow. Hell of that. I don't care nothing about no bank robbers and all of that. Just keep niggas in their place. Look down there, control and management, right? So, law enforcement, 21st century. I have 8 or 10 of these books. I have all these management books. I got all that. I just read them all the time. That's all I read, you know. So I have a feeling about law enforcement because that's all I study. I got these. This just happened to be one I just copied this out of. In justification, sure. Look on the other page. You see 9/11, right? The building blowing up. Justification. So let's ask a question. What is justification? That means if we want to kill black people, but we want to do more than one thing, we just don't want to just stop the movement. We want to make sure that their children, like number 5 in COINTELPRO, that they don't develop into anything, that they don't join any black group. If we want to destroy the family, we want to close the neighborhood down. In the old days, a black neighborhood was a sanctuary. Why 10 years later, 40 years ago, sanctuary is gone? Because they put drugs in the black community. And drugs is the same thing you have here. Justification. illegal searches and seizures, high crime neighborhood. It's justification to recolonize, to control, and to manipulate. You go back, Father, you go back in history, you don't find SWAT teams, you don't find any of that military stuff hardly until you get to our period when we wanted to change things. Before that, you can't find no SWAT team in 1960. They didn't have any. Why? Because we were peacefully on the reservation, just cruising along. No need. You could actually physically fight the police, in those days. Try it now and see what happens. You'll be as dead as a doornail. Yes, you will. Okay. So we're not going to talk about the bad things too much. Let's say we find ourselves in a situation where the circumstances lead to certain conclusions. Like if you want to judge hadith and what have you, there's a system. Time, place, and circumstance. What does that hadith mean? It has a regular meaning, but let's work with time, place, and circumstance. History is like that. We live in a certain time, we live in a certain place, and as circumstances are going on, what do we need to do? We need to eliminate the big monster that's causing all of us all that trouble. The irredeemable Zionist that worked directly for the shaitan. He uses all of his techniques. At one time, you could have said this is America, but right now, America is a victim. We have to look at what it is. The white American, we've been saying this for years. The white American is a victim of hell. He's a victim. And after all of them, all teeth falling out, then they say, well, now we'll think about doing something to the company. But the company has $1 trillion already. $75 trillion they done made off the people. Well, we want you to pay back $1 billion. Right? They said, sure, right? It's ridiculous. Okay, time, place, and circumstance demand that you first have to get rid of the big monster. Who's the big monster during this time? It's the Zionist. The Zionist is against New Worldism, good worldism. It's against all of that. The Zionist is 100% against that. So, the other oppressed people, when I say other oppressed people, that means the rest of the world falls in the category of oppressed when it comes to Mossad. They're small, but they're controlling the whole show. Okay, because they control all the people. Why? Because everybody is human. A guy just like girlfriends, he just don't like his wife anymore. It happens to everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people. The Zionists not going to let him get away with that. They're going to hang him up. We're going to tell everybody, oh, we're going to hang you. And just do a little bit for us. Like one Palestinian, he said they get you first. Just do this little thing. Then after you do, just do a little. Then after you've done that, now, if you don't cooperate with us, we're going to tell all the Palestinians that you're a snitch. And here it is. We got your voice, we got your finger, we got everything that you've cooperated with us. But I just did a little, it's too bad. They're not going to think that. They're going to think more, right? That's one of the techniques for developing collaborators, developing collaborators. Okay, so the world that we have today is a world where, as an example, We talk about the evolution of movement, the speed and development, and if you're moving a certain, well, things are moving very fast now. Okay, so here's our proposal for Boss Man. It's all kind of conflict resolution, and it's call it a neutrality pact. You know, neutrality. You can study our record. We're not going to do anything to anybody, to the system. We don't have to. The system is already right. We don't have to do nothing. We never, you can't find anybody here, anybody who's ever here. You can never find nobody that we said, we want you to bomb this, we want you to do that. Never, never, never. We never have, because number one, we don't believe in it. Now I know they don't believe in it, but that's their problem. We're telling them that if you studied your Negroes properly, you would see post-colonial South Africa. Mandela never laid a finger on white folks. Jomo Kenyatta, the burning spear in Kenya, they tortured and murdered and killed thousands of Mau Maus, which he was supposed to be one. He never laid a finger on white folks. We wouldn't go to Kenya, you know why? Because they would turn us in and send us back to America, and you would get arrested at the airport in Kennedy. Yeah, they would send you back. Tanzania, we would only go places, we knew who was who. You had to survive. Oh, I ain't going to a plane that even landed in Kenya, man. I hope it hurry up and get on out of here, because, you know, East African Airways in those days would go Uganda, Entebbe, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam. They had East African Airways, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Boy, it was nice. They had unity. But we wouldn't go to Kenya, because Kenya would turn you in. If the white man put in a petition for Tanzania, they wouldn't give us up. We stayed there, right? If they had a petition for Kenya, they snapped you up. They wouldn't arrest you. They'd just hand you over to Boss Man. Boss Man take you to New York, and he said, you are under arrest in New York. Wouldn't have nothing on it about, I just came from Kenya. We don't know nothing about that. All we know is you're under arrest right here at the airport. Yeah, that's what they used to do, Negroes. That's why I'm telling you, we know in depth how this stuff already worked. There's no, well, let's guess at this. It ain't no guess. When your life depends on that stuff, you know who's who and what's what. You know, you can measure and smell different things. When I first went to Bolivia, I was in the Paz the first night I was there. It was an Italian, a German, and who else? A Japanese guy. We was all in they call it a bar, they was drinking. And they acting like they was gonna fight. They was all police, but they all came from people that lost World War II. Germans, Japanese, and everywhere you went all over the place, had these wonderful Japanese farms in Bolivia and all of them. In Peru, you look at South America, shoot. They had a couple of prime ministers from Peru, from Japan. When he wanted to run off, he ran to Japan, right? They were trying to put him in jail in Peru. I don't know if you remember, he ran to Japan. He's Japanese, right? Look at here. They even say Hitler was down there. All I know is, just think, you ever heard of Juan Perón? Juan Perón. In that movie Evita, when she said, Juan Perón. You ever looked at those uniforms and Heil Hitler? They wasn't saying Heil Hitler, they were just saying Juan Perón. As soon as I got to South America, I said, man, them swooped up hats, them baggy pants, tight right here. I said, that's a German uniform. Then one of my connections, Edgar. Edgar was a Jew from Germany. And Edgar had the whole thing on. Two things come from Colombia. Emeralds, you know, them green stones, and cocaine. These perfect connection. I said, man, y'all sitting here with all these emeralds and all this blow. So you know how the Negro, his mind started working and clicking. And then anyway, but I'm telling you, all over South America, hey man, they looked like Nazis down in Argentina in the old days. When Avita, the Rubia, she was a blonde. That girl was, they had a movie about Avita. Avita was, Madonna played Avita. That lady was really abused. That, because they embalmed her body, and they had it lay in state for years. Yeah. And the guy that was watching, he was a guard. Shoot, he opened that case and got with that lady. She might have been 10 years dead, 15 years dead. You know, that's how much, that's what she, you know, Juan Perón married another woman. Juan Perón was still big in Argentina. You can read up Juan Perón in 71, 72, not in 54, but he came back. Juan Perón came back, but he wasn't as big as he was. I'm just trying to tell you that those people spread their tentacles all over the world. Do you know who started the CIA? Just think about it. It used to be OSS. In 1947, who started it? Germans. Sieg Heil. The space program. Von Braun. Zoop. Right? I'm telling you, these people don't care about, you know, they were saying, this closest guy, I mean, they found Hitler's body, and the lady, you know, could have been anybody. They feel like he went to Argentina and was down there in a mountainous area, and it was just like Bavaria, just like Germany, it's like where he was from. Okay, but the point is, and they felt like the CIA knew he was there. But what the heck, you know. The point is, we want to be involved in a new world transition. Everybody, they know how to do it, they just won't do it. Organizational theory, design, and change. They got, I have 50 of these, not 50, I just have about 9 or 10 of them. Another 5 or 6 of these, all kind of strategic management, all of that stuff. That's all I read. I don't read novels like stuff like that. That's what I study, because that's what we're involved in. And then all the other stuff related to these things that relate to what's happening to the human being in America. We have to stay up on that. And that's why we make an appeal to mean old boss. Basically, the white man, the American white man, because he used to be the main enemy, but now he's joined in the ranks of the oppressed. Yeah. Yeah, welcome to the club. Okay, now, but he has to fight for this one. This is not going to be handed to him like World War I and World War II. World War I, all Britain and everybody was fighting each other from 1914 to 1917. And America comes in 1917. Everybody's tired, been fighting and slugging it out in them trenches for 3 years. America come in with fresh troops, all brand new weapons, right? And say, okay, we're going to solve this. And they solve it. And the people, the 371st and the 369th, the Harlem Hellfighters, they wouldn't even let them fight in American uniforms. They put them in French uniforms because France lost a whole generation. That's why between World War I and way up into the 50s and 60s, people in France loved black people, especially from America. They loved them. Why? Because they fought for them so hard, and they appreciated it. And they didn't have the same type of, that's why jazz musicians, that's why I'll think of some of their name, Baker, Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker, the little bubble-eyed man too, that wrote all the books. I'll tell you his name in a minute. They went to France because the French people loved them. The people that fought the hardest during World War I was black people from America. In World War II, they call that thieves fall out again for the second time. They're fighting over colonies, both of those wars. Okay, the people that lost World War II, they lost because America was over here by itself. No bombs, no factories being destroyed, and American technology and production just wore the people of the world out. And they sent Americans with superior rifles, superior machine guns, superior bombs, superior airplanes. Nobody in the world had like either B-17s or B-29s. The last, that B-29, that big bomber, nobody had stuff because they didn't have time to stay up. And America had time and had space. And you got to remember, America had all the resources it needed, oil and everything. It had it here in America at that time. America always talks about its great struggle 75 years ago and with World War II. This is different. They're going to have to earn this. America, they're going to have to struggle. And they need people that's going to struggle with them and not against them. This is where the coalition come in. That we want America, we're not saying help us do nothing. We're saying stay out of our business. Nobody wants to get busy doing anything, and here you come along and pull it apart, which you can do. America can have, like they have these flash things, you know, where everybody's there. When they have a feeding out there, there it goes. America can build a masjid down the street and have it full next week. And when it's not needed anymore, they can close it up. America has demonstrations. Millions of women out marching. And we was there at the women's demonstration. You couldn't hardly get down close to the place. You had to get off someplace. And all of a sudden, everybody was listening to us. Remember how smiling? They just smiling. What all these women? And all those buses. It ain't no 2, 3 women sitting in a closet somewhere and come up with an idea and want a women's march. And all them people can get there, all the tickets, all them women, just the speakers will cost here $1 billion. All them buses, all them unions, all them people, they can do it. If America wants to make a new world, they can do it. They got to convince themselves that it's needed, and this is where we come in. We got to convince them. We got to educate them. We got to train them. You got to remember, the American people are basic dummies. They don't know how they're being manipulated, right? They don't know how they're being controlled. They don't have any understanding of that. They don't have anything knowledge of 9/11. They don't know anything about that. And then they have the poor Muslims. The poor Muslims are as bad as the Reformed Jews. The Reform. They might as well call it Reformed Islam, because anything the Quran and Hadith say, they don't do that except the rituals, the prayer, oh, astaghfirullah, right? But they meeting, challenging, and overcoming the forces of satanic world, they don't have nothing to do with that. It's our job. It's our pleasure. Now, here's what we're saying. We'll do that. We'll do that. But this is a big job. This is a big job. This thing is happening fast, and just moseying along won't do it. So we need an upgraded program. And an upgraded program means that boss man would stay out of the way, right? Because we're just going to open 4 or 5 masajid. That's fine. Because remember, we're trying to get to the hereafter. That hereafter is guaranteed, but what about the world that we're living in? You see what I mean? So right now, we're concerned a lot about the evolution of the world. Let's call this Mission Impossible. Yeah, Mission Impossible. That's what it is. Just like on TV, they had Mission Impossible. This is, you might as well call it Mission Impossible, a functional, inclusive, temporary constitution. Has to be functional, has to be temporary, 20 years or so, right? And it has to be inclusive. It includes everybody. Or the good people. What's the purpose? America the good. Remember, America the good. Because they don't understand don't mean we don't understand. Remember, right now we're seeing this. And so far, you're not hearing this in this language coming from anybody in the United States, right? Or technically, so either we're all wrong or we're all right. I mean, that's just the way it is. Either our analysis all along for the last 40 years, technically 50 or 60 years, 50 years, have been right or they've been wrong. If they have been right, our analysis, right, who everybody is, what they're involved in. If we've been right, and the solution that we've had at that time have been the correct solution for the time that we were living in. When we laid on the system and they did what they did, say from 20 years ago on up to now, we changed into the stage we are right now. It's 2002, we had the last program here, 18 years ago. But we went through that period. We initiated the period of transformation then, all going up to just before this period. We have been explaining and arranging that period because that's what we ascertained, that's what people needed to know. And we needed to show people that you don't have to be afraid of boss man. Okay, no matter who's paying attention, they should know you don't have to be afraid of boss man. You just don't have to be afraid. Okay, but what about us? What part we're going to play? This is where the Islamic evolution comes in. That we want to develop a system that solves the problems of today. The problems of today is Zionist control of the world. Therefore, the United States, as we have viewed it, as we explain it, and when we take a breather in a minute, anyone can interject or whatever they wanted to say about where we are. We believe our analysis is correct about the time that we're living in. Okay, now, if that's correct, what do we do about it? We say initially simple things. Like, for instance, in California, it's just hundreds of thousands of homeless people. They're throwing them away as useless people. That's why the subject last week was on the wasters. Mushrifin, they waste everything. They're wasting all of those millions of people. At least Franklin Roosevelt had enough sense to say, let's put them in conservation camps. Let's have them clean up the country, right? Let's have them plant trees, fight forest fires. Let's have them do that. Okay, now, here's what we're saying. Boss man, you stay out of the way, you leave us alone. But in the meantime, if we want to rent an old military base, right, for $1, just let us have it. All we're going to do is fill it up with them people. And all the other stuff you're too lazy to do, we'll have volunteers. How many want to volunteer for the tree planting association, right? Remember we talked about 1 million trees, 1 billion trees, and 1 trillion trees, right? And they're there, and we'll feed them. You just rent us a thing we'll get volunteers, we'll get all of that, you know. In fact, we wouldn't want you messing around in there too much because you can't keep the white man out. I mean, you know, he ain't going to stay home. But we wanted the people, just like the Quran taught, those people considered weak and of no account, we gave them inheritance in the land. Remember, we're always sticking to Quran. Don't worry about it. It ain't gonna. Those people who were considered weak and of no account, we gave them inheritance in the land. Okay, the people, they're homeless. They're just weak. They're not serving any purpose. Well, fine. Let us have them. We'll take them. We'll find a way to feed them, and we'll do it all over the country. Right? America needs some programs like that. It's nice to have one homeless shelter. You don't see us running out there and saying, give us our homeless shelter back. Hell, you can keep the damn thing. It ain't just one little homeless shelter. You know, you're going to give it back anyway. But we want to, you know, it sounds silly. Not that it's Mandelaism or Kenyattaism. But the first one that lose in America is Negroes. The first family to lose is ours. Last hired first, all that stuff. That's the way it is. So we want to help our people, but we want to help the whole society. You know, it's not even, this thing is so blended together now. You know, that of course there's white privilege and this, but white privilege ain't what it used to be. To be a white girl is, you might get out of 100 points, you may get 2 or 3 extra points for being white, but you're not going to get 70 or 80 points for being white, right? If you're white, you're all right. Oh, okay, you got long, stringy hair. You may get 5 points maximum. You know, for the people that looked at, oh, it's a white girl. We'll give her 5 points for being white. That's all. You know, another Negro woman, she gonna get a regular 65 points, and you ain't gonna get but 1 point extra than her, 2 points extra. Well, she would have got 95 points. White, you're all right. Big fat one, ugly, gruesome. You should see the Negroes, the women, the white women that Negroes used to run around with. Good God Almighty. Tell the truth. Woo-wee. And the foreigners are the same way. Iranians, I used to say, good God Almighty, where did you get that child from? Woo-hoo-hoo. They would be grotesque. That's not bad. It's not good to say that. But they would be considered in normal parlance ugly. One Negro say look like they've been whooped with an ugly stick. Good God Almighty. You know, but they would be, now Negroes got tenders, you know, the cutie pie white girls, you know, they're just normal. So America, the racial divides with old people are still there a little bit, but you don't feel like the white kids and all that is they're trying to kill you or they're against you, right? There's some of the older ones there, but I'm just saying that that's the feeling. So we want to rescue America. You can't rescue no one segment now. Everybody here together. So you got to rescue the whole show. That's what we want to do for America. We want to rescue America. I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. I like to say it. We want to rescue America. Yeah, we want America to be a bigger and a better place. And it can't do it on its own. It can't do it on its own. And if they play their cards right, see, we always talked about from the very beginning, I don't think anybody can remember when we first started talking about it, 10%, 15% good FBI. They're good. In other words, they're not good, but they just would rather not do, you know, what they're doing. They would rather be just like the TV FBI man. He's against crime and spies and all that stuff. But he don't want to be oppressing. I don't want to put niggas in jail. I mean, they already getting it, you know, right? Or when they arrested all the Muslims over there on Islamic Road, they had all them big-time Muslims. They wouldn't let the wife go put on hijab. They just, FBI took all their files. Some of them thought Nazism. So we talked about slave control. Does anybody remember old movies about Nazis? First thing they would ask you is, papers, please. And that's got everybody scared, right? Okay, I want you to think about slave patrols, niggas. Papers, niggas. What do they say? I want your driver's license, proof of insurance. What the hell is that, the Constitution? Did I have to even prove who I am outside? Yeah, ID. I want to see, I want papers. And if anything is wrong, first of all, they have adopted Nazi principles. We don't want Nazi principles involved in policing. We don't want designed intervention. 'Cause, 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 'cause justification of drugs and all of these things. First of all, just legalize drugs. There's so many, let's just legalize them. And then you don't have to have all those police, because they say in all these books, 80% of all crime is drug related. So legalize the drugs. Why don't they legalize them? When alcohol didn't work, they didn't leave that in for but 12 years, I think, from 1920 to 1932. Roosevelt said enough of that. Why? Because before, crime was only gambling and prostitution. But by that time, they had big, powerful, mafia-type organizations, man, that had so much money, they was challenging the government in cities and even in states. They was that big. How many Negroes challenged in the state? Why no big Negroes? Why no national Negro criminal enterprise in America? Why? Because they was on it from the jump street. They knew the possibilities, so they made sure. We're going to kill them all, but we're not going to let them get big. All the extra FBI agents they would have laying around, you get on them Negroes to make sure, right? And every Negro, when he gets over $50 in his pocket, he's off to prison. He's off to prison. There's no big criminal organization in the United States of America from amongst blacks. And when they were bigger in the late 70s, when they had big niggas in them days, they was getting big. They didn't stay big long. And I'm telling you, in the 70s, but by the time the 80s, they getting smaller. Pretty soon they run that it was crack through. And pretty soon, by the 90s, and by now, who's the biggest niggas in D.C.? Who's big? Where? What about Oakland? What about New York? You hear about big niggas anymore? Ain't nobody big. What about the Fifth Street boys or the North Oakland boys? Nobody, right? In other words, they didn't kill the Negro, and ain't no Negroes benefited from it. None. Organized, systematized. They knew what they was doing, and they did it. They pulled it off. And they used it in 50,000 ways. For militarism, for justification, high crime neighborhoods, illegal searches and seizures, and to shoot niggas down in the street. Just shoot them. Okay, so we want Boss Man to handle our case, and not that we got a time limit on it, but we think, by Thanksgiving we should have an answer, or we'll do just like we did with the lady we wanted to get involved. We got time to answer. After that, forget it. They got to get to understanding that we don't need this stuff. This is what we're doing right now. We don't need to do this. We want to do this. We don't have to do this we don't have to do this. We want to do this because, just because. You asked a little girl a long time ago, what, is that such and such? How is that? Because, silly, just because. They'd say, right? Remember they used to say, because. They wouldn't give you no answer. They didn't know what to say. It's just, because. Because what? Because we're good and they're bad. That's a terrible thing to say. But it's true. We didn't just pop up out of the woodwork. The Europeans trained us step by step, by adversity after adversity, meeting it and overcoming it in the right way. And the Quran is our guide, and that's what happened. So you want to see the reason for our development, human development? Of course it was Quran, but next after that it was the white man doing the stuff he do. And he still do. He just yesterday, that was yesterday, right? Get me a chair. I was going to sit down and then I was going to do the stuff. The white man must have heard it somewhere or just was listening. And all of a sudden, no pain, no nothing. I was just walking around and jumping up and down. I never sat in the chair. I just set the stuff in the chair.
Yeah. I had forgotten to bring it back because I was using it to paint some of the parts.
No, I'm just saying that I know what we're dealing with. It's not, concealing your brother's faults. But in order to get at the Zionists, that's the main enemy. The Zionist is the enemy of humanity. He's first. I believe if we cooperate in expelling the Zionists, we would evolve a lot. Just doing that. We would have to evolve. We would have to cooperate with each other a little bit. We would have to cooperate a little bit. Because the Zionist ain't going to let you do nothing. He ain't going to let you get rid of him and ain't going to be nothing about it. Yeah. He going to use everything. That's why he's the main enemy. He's going to use everything he's got. He pulled a race card. You want to work with the FBI. Well, we don't want to work with him. We just don't want him to get in the way. Well, you cooperating with the FBI, he's bad. And then he pull out the list. He'll show you, see what he done. He said, that's right, that's him. You're going to have to overcome that. Because he's got the list right now. He's going to show everybody and show you over and over again, why you shouldn't work with him to get rid of him. Right? So this is not, and he's going to show everybody. He's going to get everybody on his team. He could buy, this is mission impossible almost. This is a big deal. It goes back to writing our own history. You remember that we talked about in writing our own history that we would give our own explanation to different things. Well, that's what we're doing. We're doing it now. It's visible for everybody to see. Like there's certain things that we had understanding of, but everybody is going to get something nice said about them. Why? Because that's what we want to write about. That's the picture we want to give. That means that everybody got a chance. Now, what does it mean about people that are foot dragging? Okay, if we ask somebody to come in that's been around 20 years, they may be on the Black August program. They may be on the radio. They may do all that stuff. And all that time, they're claiming that they're going to, we're here to help you. We're going to get legal training to help you. Well, we give them a chance to do that. We know who they are. But if you come in and lay everything out and then they just drift away, we're going to say, you're not drifting away. You get your butt back here and get busy. Right, get busy. That's what you said you was here for, right? Get your behind back here and lay out legal theory and, in fact, go to court and fix it. That's what you studied, right? Don't look at it and say, hey, man, that's deep. And then zoop, off you go and you never show up again. 50 years, you're 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. Nah. See, we have to convince ourselves and the Negro that this situation is temporary. Right? Remember, it's not just boss man anymore. This is like a real deal. And boss man is not permanent. Most people think, oh, our kids will get a job, they'll go to school, they'll do this, they'll do that. It's not guaranteed to nobody. That guarantee is gone. That don't exist anymore. That degree may not be worth the paper it's written on. You see what's happened in 1 year here? The year started off, January 3rd, they assassinated Soleimani. And it haven't had no rest since. We always talked about 2020 vision, but sometimes it exceeds your expectations. Like, good God Almighty, ain't nobody. How about it, right?
You think about, where nations transgress and Allah, punishes them. Do you think that, them murdering the brother was a transgression and Allah just kind of cracked?
No, all of that, all of that is look. No, it's not only that. It's all of that. The trend been in all along. Yeah, the whole trend has been 2020 just come from 2020 vision, and that it's a year that we're going to set for our evolution, and it just so happens that it's the year. If it didn't, hey man, everything happened or is happening, and this is not over yet. This is not over yet, and the things that are happening are unbelievable, and the ignorance that's going around. Just the last 2-3 weeks, the numbers in people dying is doubling and tripling, right? And Don ain't left office. He ain't even said, can you imagine? The man must have drank something and it knocked his brains out, because at least he would come out and say, we want to have a memorial and a moment of silence for something, and everybody that need masks, we'll get you one or something. This boy ain't said nothing. Can you imagine? Hey man, this boy is, and then not to be believing white folks, but they said by the first of the year, this thing is going to jump to 400,000 people. They actually said between 400 and 600,000. The numbers are moving in that direction. It's 1,000 a day, 1,500 a day, dying. You're starting to get into people now. You know what I mean? That's starting to add up, where everybody knows somebody. Whole families disappearing. And they just rolling like, hey, man, that ain't no big deal. This man, this system, now remember, that's the minor system. The Zionist is the main one. It's going to take a lot of, to work with the minor satanic personality, to get rid of the gigantic satanic personality, means that after this struggle, it will be so intense that the struggle will force people together. They'll either be together or they'll break up, right? So we're counting on the Zionists will force us together. Now, that's the part where we want to be involved. You got to look at it now. We know, it's not arrogance, we know what to tell people about. Like, if we go to some demonstration, it seems like this or that, but we know what to tell people. Think about it. We know what to tell people. For what we're going, we don't just start talking and tell them what we want. We tell them, what do these people need to hear? Right? That's what we do. That's why when they invite us some TV program or some shady program, I say what I think is right. That's why every 6 months, every year, they give me a call. They don't call me every day because I'm going to blow the whistle. They're just, oh, but those white people look so nice and innocent. I said, them people are told to be there. There's nothing happening in America. And the Iranians was just, but I see it. I said, it's a optical illusion. It's an optical illusion. The white man is in charge of all of that. They didn't want to hear that, so they don't call back. And then they said, somebody else called them and said, I heard what that guy said. Why don't you get him back? So they reluctantly give me a call. They reluctantly give me a call, and then you don't know because you can't hardly find the damn thing on TV nowhere. Where they, you know, they might have showed it for 30 seconds, zoop, and took it off to satisfy. We got enemies, but we got friends in places too. Whether we didn't or not, if you look at whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Quran, you look at, there's always come a period, it seems like for that period is the end of that time or that cycle. And that's the time we're in now. We're in that cycle. That's when either all bad is going to happen and then that's going to destroy everything, or you're going to have to struggle and good will prevail. Like the chief said that America is Nineveh. Well, he's 45 years off, you know what I mean? He said, America is not Babylon. And I like the chief, I tell you, but he miscalled on that. He should have put delay in there. No, it was a miscall. But when you study it, when you study the process, especially biblical, what does it say? That the kings and wise men, they all repented. They all repented. Of course, the Bible is wrong, but the Bible say that the prophet got mad because he wanted the people to be destroyed. It doesn't matter the prophet. Yeah, that's what the Bible say. The people said, okay, we've been bad, we want to do right, and so God saved them. Then they say that the prophet, of course we don't believe it, was mad. He wanted them to be destroyed. That's biblical. But you know how they do about biblical stuff, man. They have anything in there. But anyway, there's still some guidance in there. So the Ali Kitab, let's not get running off and okay. So this is a human liberation organization with Islamic overtones. Let's go over that once more. Human liberation. Why is not Islamic liberation? Well, we got to save humanity before we can get to the Muslims, because the Muslims is all blended up in. You see the mix? It's a strategic with Islamic overtones. With white folks believing that we blew up World Trade Center, suppose because Islam is a way of peace and love. You think I believe that crap? You just lying. That's what they would say, right? But after 5 or 10 years of working with us, they said, man, they've been lying on y'all. Sure they have. That's what we got to do. In other words, technically, I'll solve the problem. We have to show them how this stuff is done. We have to win them over through our behavior. That's basically what it is. And I believe we will. So, we've already mentioned the allies that we're seeking. And if they come, alhamdulillah. If they don't, the same, alhamdulillah. We're going to do what we got to do anyway. We're going to do what we have to do anyway. But you can't just jump into New Worldism. You have to work into it. And now, we're just going to be fast track. Fast track Obama. Obama was what? A Negro that have no ties to nobody, no historical black movement, no nothing. He's just a nice guy, and he gives a talk at the Senate thing, and when he runs Illinois, nobody opposed him except another Negro, right? So he's put in as a senator. He's put in as a senator. And then, ho hum, and he's the president. It wasn't the white lady's turn. They said, we done had your husband, that's enough. We don't want y'all back around, you know, just, but they ain't gonna tell them that, they're just gonna play it like that. So Hillary is just like Don. You remember how distraught Hillary was when when 2016? Because she thought, well, here come the white man, the FBI with I'm gonna indict you for such and such. 2 weeks before the election, then a week before the election, he said, well, we'll throw it out. Too late, right? Too late. Was that accidental? Let's say this. Of course, everything that we have is accidental. The earth is an accident. The human body is an accident. You know, lips move is accidental. All that is accidental. I'm saying is that we, I believe, have figured this out. We have to deliver it to the people without killing them, because they don't want to listen. I mean, we was down there 4 or 5 times. I don't know, more than that probably. They don't want to listen, right? The white man down in Texas, whatever that is, they don't want to hear. Nobody, right, wants to hear anything. So we have to ease up on the people. We have to, I call it, if we work together and people see us as we really are, then they can't help but say, these people is all right. What they got is all right. I believe in the long run, just like the Christians was oppressed under Roman rule, and you look around, remember the 7 sleepers or whoever it was, when they look up 300 years later, whenever, they look at the coin, they go down there, where you get that coin, man, that's from way back. And plus now, we all Christians. The Roman Empire, y'all was hiding in caves and getting eaten by lions. Man, that was way back. Now we all love the Lord. That's what they said, right? And it happened. That same thing, that's a lesson for us about America. Allah done put us here for a reason, and we should use it. Human liberation with Islamic overtones. That we're moving toward Islam. We're going to give them Quran and Sunnah all the time, but just not going to call it that. And then finally, we have to cooperate with crime. Let me explain. Obama was made up, right? He's made up Negro. We said it right here. He's a white man's nigger. But, okay, no problem. Kamala, that girl, Dictadora, that girl put more niggas in the penitentiary in California than anybody out there.
I read part of the book that she wrote, and she was commenting on how they gotta be smart and tough on crime. And she was bringing up how, like, a significant number of percentage of individuals that get out of jail, they eventually go back. And so she was putting forward in her book proposal basically to keep people in jail.
No. All of them, what's her name? All them people, man, every one of them. You should have heard Biden. Hey, man, in the 90s, they had set us up so bad that they could blame everything on black men. Everything on black men, man. Lock the niggas up, throw them away. 3 strikes, you out. If you tripped over a napkin and went to jail for it, you could be in there for the rest of your life. Because that's your 3rd strike. Good God Almighty. Look at the people. They struck out and they not out yet. Most of them are not. Why they want to get rid of them? Because the penitentiaries has become like the military industrial. It is so much money to run them prisons, and the states don't have no money to run all them penitentiaries anymore.
It was a clip, man, who says on the internet, brother, you probably know that Kamala Harris, she was at a press conference and she just laughed and said, "I am the top cop."
Hey, man.
She said, if you see the clip, he's out in California. She said, "I am the top cop."
No, I'm from California. I got paperwork with Kamala Harris on it talking about she was Attorney General. That's the police. She is the top cop. And she was the top cop in San Francisco. The attorney, she worked for the prosecution, not for the defense. Okay, but bygones is bygones. No, that's they nigger. Fine, no problem. There's a girl nigger too. And everybody like girls now. Everybody, in fact, I would think that the only people got a job now is girls. Everybody in the movie is girls, right? I said, good God Almighty, man. I said, I know there's some brothers around, but that's all right. That's all right. Because if we play this stuff right, I believe that just like they used Obama at a certain time, no more racial problems in America. Then they come back 2 weeks later and ain't nothing but race problems. So this girl, if that could be used correctly, she can unify all the girls, all of a sorority over there at Howard or wherever, and rah, rah, rah for peace and truth. We just got to slip up on them and let them know that let's sell America. This is for America. You don't want to be the agent of the Zionists, do you? Right? Remember, that's our selling. We're going to sell that. We're going to sell that. That's going, hey, I'm telling you. You want to sell America? You want to sell Zionism? Go and pick your choice. What do they call it? Lesser of two evils? Right? No, the point is look, and I'm going to close with this. At a certain time in history, you have to use totally new, that's what Star Trekism is. We have to go beyond anywhere we've gone before. You could turn the heat up just a little bit. We don't want to freeze nobody out of here. Okay, so if the Zionists hijack Judaism, you know how easy it is for them to hijack America. Okay. COINTEL taken over by Mossad. It's a global phenomenon. Okay. What happened, the troubles America started everywhere, that's true, that happened. But we got to sell America on a new American vision, an inclusive, let's call it this global American harmony. We all one lovey-dovey people. That's what the Quran says. Right? Hamimun, your worst enemy might be your best friend. Right? And you might be their protector, their wali. That's what the Quran says. We're not making anything up. It just sounds like it. It sounds like that nigga went to sleep last night and just concocted all of this stuff. It's not true. It's all right there for everybody to see. Why don't nobody else see it? Because they're not looking for it. Them niggas not looking for it. The people are asleep. And if we're the only ones woke, we have to wake them up. All of them, the white folks. And This lie they've been telling everybody that America is a city on the hill, a light on the... No, we said no. This new global redesign for the 21st century, we can give them a real picture, right? Oh, what we can do, we work toward that, not that old raggedy picture. No, why not? And if the agencies use 5 or 10% of their people and their ingenuity, that can happen. That can happen. You got to remember, what have we done with everybody against us, right? Right here. I mean, technically, and we haven't made no big progress in the last 15 years or so, right? And we're still outdoing everybody else. What's up with that? I'm just trying to say, all of that delay and all of that was for us to evolve to where we are now. And we want to offer that to everybody. So thank y'all very much for paying attention. Are there any questions or any comments about anything that was said?
I'll make this point. You mentioned Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw this the other day. This is on Press TV.
Right.
But supposedly in his new memoir coming out, it just says, and I'll just read the short part. Former U.S. President Barack Obama has accused Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of orchestrating political pressure on his administration, noting that disagreements with Tel Aviv carried out domestic political costs. He made the remarks, Obama wrote that American politicians who criticize Israel policy too loudly risk being targeted as anti-Israel and possibly anti-Semitic, and were confronted with a well-funded opponent in the next election.
No doubt about it. The point on that. Remember what we said about Obama. That one policy is the one that got him goodbye, brother. And had the guy coming from Israel and getting a standing ovation. And told the people at his meeting at the White House, the Jews told him, you can go. Not just because you're the president, you can go, nigga. You're not needed here. You're not wanted here. You can go. Can you imagine? Okay, he is a human being. The way I visualize it is that with this new administration, Zarif is going to go through his old homeboy, what was the senator up there? You know, Secretary of State. Last administration, Secretary of State. You know, Kerry, yeah. Go through Kerry to these people, right? And reform everything, you know, okay. But that statement that just came from President, we never read it, but you can see that they agreeing with what we said years ago. That's the thing that got him. That's the only thing that got him. He was a good nigga, but he didn't follow. Now, whether he knew it or not, he might have knew it after. He might have thinking, hey, I follow everything you guys say, man. I'm filling up the prison with niggas, and I'm doing this. I'm loaning everybody money that don't need it, and I'm doing, hey, what if we just have it just makes sense, a little treaty with Iran. Buddy. And just like they say, yeah, did you have some?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on what you were saying. I think one of the reasons why, man, that's why Trump is out of there, because he wasn't agreeing with the here comes Bill Gates. Bill Gates said, I am happy to work with the new administration. I am so happy to work with him.
Yes.
So Bill Gates is a part of the Zionists and a part of the Baptists. Right after they won the election, Bill Gates came out with two. He said, I'm so happy to work with Biden and Harris. It will be.
Oh, well, you're verifying exactly what we said before you walked in, right? We said that everybody dumped Don. That was his job, to get dumped. That's why he just sitting there. If Fox News dump him, you know he's dumped, right? The point is that all of those people are there to use. They're there to use. They're like a tool. When you go to eat and everything, you don't take your tools with you. You put them in the closet, right? You put them in the garage. That's where those tools belong. Hillary was a tool. Bill was a willing tool. He's a happy tool. No, Bill is all of them serve their purpose. But there's one thing we should never forget. The white Republican does not like being ruled by Zionists. We got to remind him, because right now he is being, so we got a lot to work with. Hey, we got a good shot at this. Any more questions or comments?
So yeah, a couple. Well, one came through on Facebook. Well, they asked me kind of a question that answered. I guess you go first. He said, I guess the Zionists are done with Trump. Do you believe Biden will obey the Zionists' call to duty and fight against Biden recognizing the Iran agreement?
Oh, well, Biden had already said, remember that come from his administration, the Iran agreement. So he's already said he's going to reinstate it. He mentioned a few little caveats here and there. But you got to remember the Iran agreement, you got to remember the people that are dying the most in the Middle East is in Iran. That thing is really working them, it's giving them the blues. Okay, that's actually a type of genocide. The cruelty, you got to remember how there's nobody cruel like that except psychopaths, which the Zionists are psychopaths, and they got Trump carrying it out. That we're not giving you any relief for anything. We're going to make it worse. Just because a lot of you people are dying, right? I'm telling you, got to look at it. You don't know why the numbers here are so big. Sometimes, hadith say about you get the kind of leader you want or deserve, and then there's costs for that. So you never know. So are there any other?
Yeah, the other one came through on YouTube. I guess this person here, they must have missed part of the lecture because they asked about this lecture. Is this just as racist as the MAGA militants?
The who?
They're asking, is this just as racist as the MAGA militants? It's Make America Great. That's how they say it.
No, I don't think there's any.
They must have missed.
Yeah, I'm sure you missed some of it. We think this is no, there's no racism in this. There's no racism in this. We didn't include everybody in a balanced position. So I don't know where that's coming from. No, this is not racism. This is human. We said that we wanted a new human system, inclusionary system.
America the good.
America the good, with Islamic overtones. That's what we want, with Islamic overtones. And You know, that's what we're trying to work. Okay, so that person must have missed something. Yeah, Donald Trump, Netanyahu, Saudis, criminal war on Iran, genocide, war by sanctions. There is war by sanctions. That's stuff they've said themselves. Over American people, fake conspiracies. You know, all the what they call it, QAnon stuff. Can you imagine all these fake conspiracies, and none of them are focused on Zionists? Although I heard yesterday some white lady wrote a book. She must have wrote it last week after we said that what's wrong with the white folks liking Trump and he's pro-Zionist, da-da-da-da-da. Then she came out the other day. Anyway, it's no big deal. No, we are a all-inclusive human type organization. And we want to have a functional, inclusive system that's based on the human family.
And that person can go back and look at past lectures and
Yeah,
get an understanding.
get a better understanding of where we're coming from. Yeah.
They got caught up in just the title. I guess they didn't sit around.
Oh, the title was what now?
Trump dumped.
Trump dumped. Yeah, that.
Maybe they read that and they just hopped on, put in an uneducated comment.
No, Trump has been dumped. The brother just said it. Everybody, that's what it's automatic that they dumped Trump. We didn't dump him. They dumped him. They all the big boys. What would you say? Bill Gates, just no more than Trump. Everybody. They said, Don, it's all over, man. It's all over because he has served his purpose. He has destroyed the Republicans, right? He even destroyed any cooperation, and he got them all. He created disunity in America, divide, conquer, and rule. And then now the Democratic ladies are going to come in and divide the Democrats. So what do they have? Called chaos. Yes.
I was going to say, man, Musa, and people don't realize, especially black people, they should realize, right? When was a vice president focused on the most in any other election? Kamala Harris made a statement at APEC. She said, Israel has a right to defend itself, and he said, once we are in office, Biden and I are in office, we will guarantee Israel $10 billion a year. That's what sealed the deal for Biden and Harris to be on top. That's what sealed the deal. Yeah. $10 billion a year, they will guarantee Israel.
Ain't nobody gonna become no president or nothing without them whole humming with Israel. But remember, we have to educate the people on where their money is going. $10 billion, they gave them they always give them $3.8 billion all the time. Tax-free, no problem. That's what they get. Then they give Egypt something close to that, but Egypt is only tied to military equipment and stuff, right? So anyway, we have opportunity to do good. America the good. Not America the great, America none of that. I'm telling you. And if we don't evolve past all the stuff that they think we haven't evolved past, you can't do it. You got to be big in order to do the stuff we've been talking about. You have to be that. Because if you're not that, they can buy you off with small things. They can buy you off with a few $1 million, a few this, that, right? You got to be big to do what we're talking about. You have to be that. And remember, there's people in the system that knows us. I'm talking about know us. They got it down pat. So they know what we're saying is right. We just want them to act off of it now. Because this stuff is too big for us to fix. We just can't fix this. We got to have coalition and cooperation and allies, right? I mean, just think, how are we going to be sitting here in D.C. and the whole world is effed up and we could solve it all, right? It ain't going to be like that. We want to play a part, a good part, in directing the human being. We want to influence the direction of change for the good. That's all we want to do. That's all we've ever wanted, and we're just looking how that part fits into all of this. And just like Boss Man said in his first thing, policing, what was it for? Development of formal policing in the United States, early white system, slave patrols, and Jim Crow laws. That's what the old man, the old red-headed man, what was his name? Thomas Jefferson said that. Remember, we had to all look. He said all that, oh, we got to be against this, that. He said, well, the white folks up north don't like that, so we can't do it. And he's a slave owner himself, running around with Miss Sarah, poor child, all them kids, all them freckle-faced niggas, you know. You seen them, they still around? Sally Hennings, yeah. They family, you see them people now on TV, they're still red, freckle-faced Negroes, right?
That's what they used to say in their press. They would come after Thomas Jefferson about, him, like back over this stuff.
Shoot.
And later on turned out they were 100% correct.
Man, they got it seeming like them guys got halos on it. Man, they should, the press, you would think they was talking about the devil in 1803 and 1800. Man, so why can't we have honorable stuff for our people? Okay, so any more questions or comments?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, does anybody have any personal thing they'd like to say about how does this stuff seem to y'all? I mean, does it make sense? Does what we've been talking about make sense?
Man, it makes clear sense, and it makes a lot of sense. If you go out the propaganda scheme, you will see that the people designing this, who they pick, like far as the Democrats, that they really picked them.
Right.
Decimated the black community so much with their policy. So much so that I don't know why black folk is so into to hating Trump and this and that, so forth, so forth. But if you look at beyond the propaganda, Trump ain't really do nothing to decimate the black community as far as policies. He ain't decimate nobody. All he was going at was the good old white boy Americans that want to be appreciated. That's all he did. I mean, am I right on that retrospect?
Well, Trump just did his job. He did what he was hired to do. His job was to destabilize America, to divide America, and he did it. And in order to do that, he was effective in dividing every group. Example, the biggest minority, if you want to call them that, is not black people anymore. In 2000, that's 20 years ago, this according to their statistics, they said it was 39 million blacks and 39 million Mexican Latinos. It's not like that anywhere close to that anymore. I think they done doubled up on us probably. No, we're not the favored minority by a long shot. They got Latinos everywhere. You ever hear of Latinos in Mississippi, Carolina? And they've been there for 20 and 30 years. Up in Iowa, they're everywhere. They call it Reconquista, the reconquest. Their stuff done worked. The Latinos have reconquered America. Talking about white and black, it's browning. No, it's done browned up fast. And it caught them by surprise. That's how things catch them. They was caught off guard. And by the time it was time to do something about it, it's too late. You can't build no wall. So if he build a wall, somebody gonna come and tear it down. They're gonna say that wall, we don't want a wall. You know, we don't. They're gonna tear the thing down, right? And everybody, the environmentalists and everybody, they was gonna build a wall through our bird sanctuary. I was listening, stuff like that. And there's a few beautiful spots. Where the Rio Grande flow through this, that, and other. No, they're okay. So, number one, the Reconquista. The other thing is black people. Why do black people fall for anything that you throw out? It's because that's the way, you know. Uneducated. Imagine now, see, a lot of people don't understand black people. Because see, an immigrant come here and he just start working and he just get him a house and everything. And then he gets the idea that niggas is lazy. Okay, but he haven't been in a country for hundreds of years where any leader pop up, they kill him. So everybody knows that if I stand up around here, you know, right, it's going to start looking for everybody, just like Obama just said, that if he went against the Zionists, which he did, right, then pretty soon they'll put another nigga up to you, right, and support that nigga, just like the imams. We always talk about our dear imams. They talk real good, they look like you, they act like you, and don't nobody know the difference, right? Right? So they put, I don't care whether it's the Senate, the Congress, or niggas, just niggas, right? And they want to replace you in the gangster world. You look around and here comes Johnny Boy. What you doing, Johnny Boy? I'm the next big nigga in the neighborhood, right? And they looking at you like, hey, you got to go, Big Hank or Big Johnny, whatever your name is, right? Because it's time for you to go. You stay any longer, you're going to figure out some of this stuff. That's the secret of longevity. Remember the stuff we talk about that, hey, I sent such and such some information, but that was from over 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Do you know what the Quran say reflect? You know, when you, like, look at a lot of people around here. They've been here, I don't know how long. If somebody do a project and it's only 20 years old, that's why I can say, hey, the guy, the Black August, or this or that was years ago. But it was years ago for them. For us, it just happened almost. Why? Because of longevity. You know what I mean? Longevity, man, is a educator. That's the difference. They not only get rid of our brothers, they run people crazy, they put them in jail, so then when you come here and you see ain't nobody saying nothing, it's because they've been conditioned. They've been trained. You know what I mean? And just like the thing about the little old elephant, they put a big stake in the ground, and the bigger the elephant get, the smaller the stake get, and pretty soon the elephant is going around. Or the glass seal, or the micro, and the barracuda. Barracuda love micro, right? They just love to eat them. They got a glass partition in there, and the guy hit the glass, bam! He don't know it's glass. See, he do that over and over again. Pretty soon he swim up to where the glass is, and he go turn around and go the other way. And the microwave is right there on the other side. They take the glass thing out of the way. He still swims up to it and goes away because he's been conditioned. Learned helplessness. All of those things are real. Last example, the dog in the cage, electrified. They electrocute the dog. He jump up and holler, and he jump on the walls is electrocuted. He jump on the other wall, it's electrocuted. When he on the floor, it's electrocuted. Boy, he hoops and hollers and try to get out. And he does it again, and he hoops and hollers, he defecates and everything. And the next time around, they turn the juice up. They keep turning it up and up. He just lays there. Learned helplessness. He done tried everything he can figure out, so I just suffer with it. That's the way Negroes are in America. Learned helplessness. We're not in that. Boss man makes a mistake every night. He calculates, well, we'll let the nigga go in about 2 weeks. We'll just run him crazy and he'll go around. Then let him go for another week. You know what I mean? Pretty soon the years and add up. And all of them is gone. And then they got another crew. Then all of them is gone. And pretty soon you're 75 years old and ain't nobody around that started out at the beginning. And you got all of what they got, all of what the other ones got, and they ain't none of them. It's institutional knowledge. You know what institutional knowledge is, right? When you got, this is a sergeant, he's been in here a long time. Pretty soon, they all retire. When they retire, not only are those guys gone, but their institutional knowledge. This is what's happening with the government. The government now. They have to go back and get some other people because Don and fired everybody, right? So the makeup of the people that have institutional knowledge come from past administrations. The only problem with that, if you want to do something big in the future, they all stuck in the past. It's all, you can't tell people from the 40s and the 50s we want to do a whole new deal with the world. They don't even know what you're talking about. Well, we've always done it this way. And that won't work, right? You need people with, so all the things that are bad for us have drifted over to them. They don't know it. Believe it or not, we have to help them. Right? That's just the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. That's what the Quran tells us to do. We have to help them come over here so they can understand why niggas act the way they do, why Zionists act the way they do. We got to educate them. Why? Because they're watching TV. You think you can see this stuff on TV? Heck no, you can't see it on TV. You think you can read it in a book? Nope. And if it is in a book, how many people are going to read that book? 1 in every 10,000? And then you can't get it printed anyway. It's out of print, right? It goes out of print, and then they go collect all the ones, Okay. So there's no more comments, or is there anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, just a comment about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We had kind of like, it was like I don't know what you call it, a flash food bank show up. And so when I came to the masjid after getting some of the supplies over at Home Depot to work on the house, I rolled up and they got two, you've seen that 18-footer U-Haul before? They got two of those food trucks parked right here on that corner, parked right here. And they already unpacking the boxes and they putting it on the masjid property. So I go up to them and I ask them, what is this? I'm staff here at National Islam. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing here? You know, because trying to, you know, they ain't asked us to do this.
Okay.
So they say that, you know, they're basically giving away, you know, basically boxes of produce, you know, to the neighborhood. And lo and behold, you remember how difficult it was to get, you know, to get people to come to our community feedings and stuff? And we'd have to go all the way up and down the street and stuff. But it was, you know how the imam was always talking about, you know, they can do anything they want. They could pop up in it. They literally did that because they were supposed to be down there at the Binco.
Okay.
They were all the way down here. And they had basically, they had the Kappas out here, you know, passing out the boxes. And they got rid of those 2 truckloads of produce, about 18-footer U-Hauls, about the same size. And about, you know, maybe about an hour or so. You know, just
No, it was packed around yesterday. You would think now.
They had law enforcement. They had the guys. I was watching them for a while. They had law enforcement out here directing traffic.
Lights going, yeah.
Yeah, the
Lights
guys
going.
decal, officer of the year. So they had the best police officers out here. You know, the fraternities out here. Everything out here on our property, handing out produce that they did not ask for.
They was all on the steps. The people are gonna think that we was giving it away. If they drive by, that's the only thing they could think, that we gave it away. The point is that, yeah, boss man can do, look, he can save himself, he just won't.
They had the who out here?
They had the police.
They had the Kappas out here?
The Kappas were out here. Yeah.
Okay, now I didn't have nothing to do with it, but you know, I did do that at Howard.
Okay.
So,
I didn't think of you, but I know you didn't have
no, I
nothing to do
didn't
with it.
even know.
No, but no, it doesn't make any difference. It's all perfect. It's all, we don't care about nobody standing, you know what I mean, in the front of the masjid and,
First, I was like, you know, I made a mistake and I might have approached them in an adversarial way.
Right.
But then when they explained they're giving away food, you can't chase people off when they feed them.
Right.
That's not Islam.
okay, so you got to remember, no, at certain times, the okay system will kick in, or the system. You remember we used to talk about signal diplomacy? Yeah. Okay, so if signal diplomacy might be like, if somebody come in here and help us with, they can have $1 billion. They don't have to explain where it came from, nothing. They could just say, a bird dropped this in my lawn, and I picked it up, brought. They can say that. They can say that because this is the way you get a signal where the system is at. That's why we're saying we're talking directly to the feds so they know who we're talking to, what our criterion is. You know what I mean? And so the system, look, you may not believe it. Hey, man, I'm telling you, once you've been doing it, you can't overlook years of dealing with a system. And remember downtown, when we was downtown, when we was out there just having a good time saying, boy, this is Hollywood, watch him, he gonna do this, right? Where they have all the police come right over 2 feet from us. Okay, and then after we talking, they just almost stopped. They just said, forget it. And then the next day we said, let's go downtown. So we down there. What the police say? As-salamu alaykum, how's everything? What does the police say driving by? We driving, they cut us off. So they're there, they be working towards something. And eventually, they're going to reach a conclusion. And I'm hoping that it's the right conclusion because this is the right time. So they have these things, and they might be just trying to get us publicity. Those are nice people. So we stand out there. The Negro don't know. All he knows is, give me a box of food. They serve people food down there, right? And it's all vegetable. It ain't nothing, There was no canned goods with beef,
It was all
veggies.
not unless the boxes, not unless they had different sections. But all the boxes I saw had like squash in them and it was produce.
Produce. Hey. So it's all halal. And healthy, yeah. So what the heck we care? Right? I look at it all just like I did yesterday. Take it easy, no problem. It's signal diplomacy. They've been signaling, and finally they might say, okay, the signals all match. No, it's to me it's normal. And believe me, this sounds crazy, but look, it would be a nice relief to know that we could do all the good stuff we want to do and build it up and not have somebody come down and tear it down in 2 days. That would be nice. We want to build houses all over, but we want them to stay up. We don't want them to pull them down. So if we can get them, look, you just leave us alone. We just build these houses. We just saying to you, don't tear them down. They can tear them down. This is America. They got everybody here is with them, right? They can mix people in with you to help you build the house, and they build it with a pull string in it, so they can walk by at 12 o'clock one night and pull that, and all the boards fall and your house collapse. They can do that. They do that, right? So we want to convince them that, hey, man, this place needs help. We want to be a part of the solution. If you want to be America the good, you're going to have to solve the world's problems. You can't bully people no more. You're going to have to rub them on the back and laugh and talk and solve the problems of the world. That's what they're going to have to do. They can't do this anymore. And then, pretty soon, the world will look up and say, see, I'll close with this. America cannot grab that old spot that it used to have. It have to grab a new spot. That nobody wants to make a new world because they're too busy holding on to the one they got, right? So America have to let that one go. Let China have it. Let them all have it. And we're going after all the new green dean, the new, all this, right? We're going to go into everything that people are going to be doing 20, 30 years from now, right? That's what they can grab. They can't go back and get the other one anymore. They already let that go. Somebody else has snatched it. So the way you get big, important, is by going and getting what the people need. You clean up the air. Don't nobody want to clean up nowhere. They want to dirty it all up. So you clean it up. You have all your people. They all on the beach. They all cleaning up rivers, right? That's what we're talking about doing. If the stuff we just clean up everything and thank you very much. Just don't go dirty it up again. That's all we're saying. We don't want to do nothing but clean up stuff, right? We just would like, if you just please, not dirty it up again, right? And then we build a little hut here, a hut there, just leave it there. Try not to tear it down. We know you got the ability to tear it down. We already know that. And that's what we're telling you. You want to get big? Let the world see you in action. Because the world is still watching old boss man. Right? And if they see this thing materialize, that's how they can capture the world. And that's how we can infiltrate Islam to the world. Because remember, Christianity captured the world because Christianity captured all the people. It captured England, it captured Rome, it captured everybody, the Spanish, right? Right? So Islam captured them. They want us to go around one by one and capture everybody? No. We capture the process not capture, that's the wrong word, that's the old word. We manage the process. Not control, but manage. All those are bad. We want to control the world. We want to help manage the world. Okay, is that about it? All right, alhamdulillah. Well, yeah. The other thing, the last thing I was just going to mention about Boss Man and the doggone Volkswagens out there and other cars, we just going to give, what's the name, another couple of weeks, and that's about it. You know, you just have to bring that 25 grand down here. You don't have no right to just tear up the cars and then I drive it back here and it stops. That's terrible. You know, Forestville Auto, yeah. Is it still on?
Yeah, it was. Did you
No, Forest Auto, that's what I wanted.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
if anybody wanted to take to them, I'll make a couple more. But that stuff is getting old. Yeah, we take them down there and tell them, hey man, we don't need but 25 grand and you can fix all the cars out there. That's the hub. You know, they did that. Okay. Okay, thank y'all very much.